Okay, today is a fun scripture. Well, it's fun for me because this section of the scripture very rarely comes up, and when it does in the lectionary, very few pastors like to tackle it because it has a lot of background that we in the present have given it. It was just a simple section of the Bible that the author of Luke wrote, wanting to show how open Jesus was to all people. And now it's become a source of contention for biblical interpreters. So once again, we will just discuss a little bit of the difference between what's on the right and what's on the left. And then we'll get a better picture of it. But we're reading Luke 7, 1 through 10. After Jesus had finished all his sayings in the hearing of the people, he entered Capernaum. A centurion there had a slave whom he valued highly, and who was ill and close to death. When the centurion heard about Jesus, he sent some Jewish elders to him, asking him to come and heal his slave. When they came to Jesus, they appealed to him earnestly, saying, "He is worthy of having you do this for him, for he loves our people, and it is he who built our synagogue for us." And Jesus went with them. But when Jesus was not far from the house, the centurion sent friends to say to Jesus, "Lord, do not trouble yourself, for I am not worthy to have you come under my roof. Therefore I did not presume to come to you, but only speak the word, and let my servant be healed. For I also am a man set under authority, with soldiers under me, and I say to one, 'Go,' and he goes, and to another, 'Come,' and he comes, and to my slave, 'Do this,' and the slave does it." When Jesus heard this, he was amazed at the centurion, and turning to the crowd that followed Jesus, he said, "I will tell you, not even in Israel have I found such faith." When those who had been sent returned to the house, they found the slave in good health. Okay, so somebody tell me, what is the problem with this scripture passage? Or the interesting part, which is obvious. A centurion. And he was of the Roman guard, but usually in the Palestine area, there were more of Greek affections, whatever, to be serving there in the Roman army. But one word is, let's see, 4 words are repeated. Did anybody catch that? Twice or 3 times we heard the word slave, and 1 time the word servant was used. Okay, so to the untrained ear, you're going, who cares, right? So there has been contention going on for decades about what these 2 words indicate. Now, when we hear in the Revised Standard Version, slave, we are talking about doulos, the first word. So it could even mean servant or bondsperson. But when we get down there, when the centurion is speaking, usually it's other people speaking for him. But when the centurion talks about his servant, he says servant, and he uses the word pais. Why is this different? Well, because if you are on the right hand of religion, you will say, this word has been used several times, and I'm talking about pais. It's been used several times in the Bible to indicate children. All right, so when Herod said, throw all the children into the river, or kill them all, when Jesus was born, he used the word pais. However, when the centurion is saying this, he's talking about his beloved servant, his pais. Now, pais could mean servant or child. However, in Greek and Latin literature, the word pais is used in sexual relationships. So the left hand of Christianity has now come to know that when the centurion sent somebody to go get healing for his servant, he meant, please help me heal my boyfriend. So this is nowhere in the Bible. It's a very rare occurrence of this word. And I've gotten into several arguments with people, other people who like to argue about the Bible a lot. And they will go, this never means that. It never means that. But when they say that, it never means that in the Bible. But if you look outside of the Bible in Greek and Latin literature, the word pais means something completely different. We don't know what Luke's ideology was, but I find it very interesting that everywhere else in this section, the word slave is used by other people talking about this child. And when the centurion describes him, he says, this is my pais. So I'll let you think about that, ruminate it. And most people go, hey, that's not the reason why they wrote this scripture passage. So yes, you guys were right when you said this was a centurion. He was a Gentile. He was a non-Hebrew. So Jesus took the time to take care of his needs. Not only that, Jesus said, I tell you, not even in Israel have I found such faith. That should have angered people. As in other stories we've covered before, Jesus looked around and looked at the Jews in his area, and he said, ye of little faith. And he often goes to the example of, look at this person. He's not Hebrew, but he has more faith than you. So how do we turn that into a 21st century ideal? How are we getting this point across? But it doesn't matter what religion you are. It doesn't matter what faith you are. You are worthy of God's love and affection. Not only that, 2,000 years ago, non-Hebrews were worthy of Jesus' attention. Now that's something exciting. And this isn't the only time that he performed a miracle to a non-Hebrew. It's exciting to me. And yes, I'm a Bible nerd, but it's very exciting to me that everywhere you look and the more you read these scriptures, you find out that these are not just Christian scriptures. These are for the world. It's for us to learn how to love one another. And it was Jesus' absolute point to get across to the community that he was serving. Jesus doesn't bother with distinctions. Now, I think there's a saying in United Church of Christ ad campaigns, Jesus never turned anyone away, and neither do we. So let's think about those communities that often get forgotten by the church, and I'm talking C Church, not just us. What are the communities that we sometimes don't pay attention to? People of other faith, people of other abilities, people of other genders or sexuality. Right now, there is a large contingent of America that is angry at Asian people because of COVID. That's still going on. Frankly, I don't think Asian people have gotten a break since World War II, to be honest. There are a lot of beautiful people who are of the Muslim faith that tend to get, scourged out. And let us not forget the least of these, those undocumented workers that are in our communities. And now they are being threatened with their very livelihood, breaking up families. And it scares me, and it makes me really sad. Makes me really sad to think about that. Sometimes I have to turn off NPR because that's half of their discussion right now, is what's going on in that community. So when we talk about Luke 7, the focus is not really on us, is it? It's not on the Christian faith or even the Hebrew faith, which Jesus was Hebrew and he taught the Hebrews. We read it and we say, hey, this is our scripture, but it really isn't. But it's not really about our faith, nor is it getting the titles for Jesus right. Who's the big guy? Well, it was a centurion. He obviously had power over his space, but he gained their honor. He gained their trust. He built them a synagogue. So this is a guy who knows what it means to be a good person, even though he's a Roman soldier, right? It doesn't matter. It's more important for us to experience the love of God and the way that Jesus showed it to the world. In the story right after this, I didn't read it for sake of time, but Jesus heals the son of a widow. And he has 3 very special words. Okay, I'm going to go back a second. Who knows the shortest Bible verse in the Bible? Shortest verse in the Bible.
Jesus wept.
Jesus wept. That's always on some sort of trivia contest. But it's so fun to say that, and then when he speaks to the widow, he says, "Do not weep." I'm kind of thinking maybe Jesus was going, "I will weep for you." That's empathetic, that's compassionate. But he tells the widow, "Do not weep." Let us remember Jesus' words. And remember that Jesus is the compassionate presence of God in our lives. It doesn't matter what your faith is, how you believe in your faith. That's not the problem here. And it is we have to believe it. We have to believe in compassion, empathy, stewardship. All those things that Jesus reconciled for us in a very easy way. How do we react to other people? Or how do we interact? Following the biblical story, we know what's going to happen soon. Easter's coming around. And one commentator said, Jesus himself was killed for our sake, but he was raised from death. And in the story it is to assure us that God's love endures through all. So that is the hope that we live and die with. As part of my job, in my other job as a chaplain, I get to do intake surveys and figure out how people believe or what they believe and what they need. And so I went to one guy and I go, what keeps you joyful? How do you cope? And he just said, hope. Just one word, and I love one-word answers because I don't have to type as much. He said, hope. Never give up hope. And I took that to mean from that prophet that was right in front of me, doesn't matter who you are or where you are on your journey, God's hope is in you. God's compassion is on you. Jesus' love is for you. And that's a good message indeed.